What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good, the show that helps you transform your mindset by rewriting the stories you tell yourself. And I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist, inspirational speaker, and best-selling author. And I believe the stories we carry shape the lives we live. And each week you can join us on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network as I sit down with inspiring guests to share real, raw, and uplifting stories of resilience, healing, and personal growth. We dive into the power of perspective and give you the tools you need to shift your inner dialogue so you can live with more joy. And you can join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around. So join us. You can listen on your mobile device, in your car, or even ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. And hey, isn't it time to finally rewrite that narrative? Let's learn to look for the good together. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm so excited to be here with Jill Crosby today, waiting in the wings. Hello, Jill.
Hello, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. You can't see you guys, but she's sitting with a beautiful blue ocean behind her. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to, I love talking about stories, right? We'd love to dive into those stories. What are those stories that we tell, not only to other people, but more importantly, those stories that we tell to ourselves, because those are really the ones that get us all entangled up, right? And here's the thing that I've learned about this, right? Is that we don't even realize half the time that we have a story that's holding us back. It's our story, because the way we tell our story is the way we live our lives. And when you can become aware of that and start to dig in and look at your stories. And today we're going to talk about some really cool stories. We're going to talk about Jill's really cool stories and those turnaround stories, because you guys know I love those stories of resilience and comeback and how did you do something great and this what gets in your way and how'd you get over it. And also I love talking about the love story, right? So we're going to talk about the love story today, because you don't realize, as I said before, that one little thing that's stuck in your way. And you know what? Love brings up a lot of those things, doesn't it? It brings up a lot of those childhood things, a lot of those things we have so much associated, so much positive and negative connotation with that story. But when you can get in there and realize that it's just a story that you're telling yourself, everything can change. And let me tell you, the love story that you've always been dreaming of is possible for you. So stay tuned, because Jill is going to share some of her incredible wisdom. Jill, I'm so excited. I loved our conversation. I could have talked to you for like 2 hours on the phone. And I want to read your bio because it's just so cool. And that's how I was first introduced to you. So do you mind if I read it?
No, go ahead.
So Jill Crosby is the owner and founder of the Conscious Dating Network, the largest network of exclusively conscious, spiritual, green dating sites on the internet, featuring her flagship site, spiritualsingles.com, which launched in 2000, and also greensingles.com, inherited in 2014. So there's several dating sites that all share the same large database of members in the spiritual green niche. All members automatically have access to all members from all sites by joining one site. That is a huge benefit. So we'll talk about that. During the first 9 years of growing her online dating site business, Jill worked a day job as director and sales trainer for several Great Expectations dating offices throughout the US. During that time, she interviewed over 6,000 singles in 7 different states. So I think you've got the inside scoop there. We'll talk about that as well. And this is super cool. She's an inspirational public speaker and is known for her candor, vulnerability, down-to-earth honesty, and humor as she helps singles thrive in the world of online dating and ultimately meet their life partners. Love that. She's also a hypnotherapist, metaphysician, and facilitator of wild dolphin and whale swim retreats and scuba trips for singles. Her event site, spiritualevents.com, promotes conscious spiritual events worldwide. I love what you do. It's so cool. And thank you again for coming on all the way from the Caribbean here to us on Look for the Good. So tell us, there's so much goodness in there. I love what you have created. And I love when somebody takes like a personal story or a personal need, and that's how they launch their business. And that's your story. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Sure. About why I launched it?
Yeah, like the story, your story of like why you created this. You saw a missing
Sure.
piece, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think like all good products or services, they are spawned from need. And back in 1998, I just started working for Great Expectations, which was a photo video dating company, which was bricks and mortar. I mean, way old school, where people had to come into the office and flip through books and look at pictures and then put VHS tapes in recorders to watch the videos.
No swiping there, right?
No, way before all of this. And online dating was brand new. And I thought it was a good idea because I thought, well, to get a bunch of people, number one, that are single and put them all in one place and then let everybody meet each other from your own home on your own computer, which computers were still relatively new back then. I just thought it was very smart and efficient. And I've always been kind of an efficiency expert. So I like efficiency.
Mhm.
And I joined the prominent mainstream site back then. And I just started meeting guys, and they were all mainstream guys. And if I would talk about meditation or my crystals or communing with nature, even just these blank stares, like they just couldn't, I couldn't really relate to a lot of the men that I was meeting. They were nice and great, but not that deep. So I wanted to meet men that were interested in similar things that I was. And I looked online to see, well, is there a spiritual online dating site? There must be. And there wasn't.
Wow.
So that's where I got the idea. And I didn't know anything about any of it. I didn't even know how to register a domain name back then, which
So
is
funny.
ironic because I own I don't know, close to 400 domain names now. And so I called up a friend who worked for AOL at the time, and I'm like, how do I register a domain name? What do I do? And I had even gotten the name Spiritual Singles while I was meditating on a plane. And
Wow.
that everything was guided, like it felt really guided and meant to be. And like I had a mission and a purpose to launch this business. And even though I didn't really know what to do, but I just thought it was a great idea. And
Wow.
so I did. A friend of mine, if you want like the story, I mean, it's interesting because a friend of mine that I had known from San Diego when we both lived there, which was where I was living at the time still, she'd moved back to Toronto and she was dating online. And I had told her what I wanted to do. And maybe not even a week later, she calls me up and she's like, Jill, you won't believe it. I just went on this date with a guy that I met online. He's not for me, but he wants to do the same thing. And he's a programmer. I'm like,
no way.
voila, okay, that's guided. So, she connected us and we became partners, and he became the programmer and I was going to do the marketing and, the design and everything. And we were together working as business partners for the first year, but then I could tell we had different visions, different ideas. I could just, when you just feel like this is not long-term, it's not a good long-term relationship business-wise. And so we broke up business-wise and went our separate ways. And by then I had worked for the Great Expectations longer, and I had saved some money where I could actually pay somebody to develop a new site. and which I did. We both took the database. I kept the domain. He did a different domain, and we went our separate ways. And since then, it's been, my site and exclusively, and which is funny because I don't really tell those details that often, but it is how it actually happened. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I worked the day job for 9 years or so. Funding, I never took any outside money. I just bootstrapped it, and I still didn't really know what I was doing, but I figured it out along the way, and just had the passion. And I mean, I would work the day job for 10 hours, and then I'd come home at night and I would do all the customer support email. I gave myself a different name, like for customer support, because I wanted I had to remain behind the scenes too. I felt I had to, because of working the day job for, really competitor. And so I never mentioned my online dating site during the day. And I didn't do articles or interviews or anything, because I just kept it behind the scenes kind of thing until I finally quit in 2008, after moving all around the company for them and working my ass off for them.
Wow.
I finally quit and just did it for me full time, my business, for me and the members. And that's when it really started to take off too, because I put all my time and energy into it then.
That is such a cool story. I love that. You said a couple really awesome things that just really caught my ear. Is like the passion piece, right? Because when it's your passion, and I love that you just quietly kind of kept it to yourself for a while. And I feel like, and you hear this a lot, like we tend to like burst things out when we have a great idea, but you quietly kept it all your own, and then you let it out into the world. And I think that has a lot to do with like success. You gave it that incubator time, right? And then
Oh, it was launched, and I had members, and it was growing. It was just slow. And I was like the owner behind the scenes that nobody really knew about, kind of thing.
That's pretty cool though.
I know.
You're right. It's really cool. And you're gathering all the information. You could kind of keep it contained, until you could no longer when you left. And that must have been an incredible moment for you when you were like, okay, now I can just give my whole heart.
Yeah, yeah. I had told the company I was working for what I was doing, so they knew.
Yeah.
But for ethical reasons, I kept it completely separate, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. So, but it's a passion project, and a passion project is something that is like our baby, right? It's like we nurture, you're working 10-hour days and you're coming home and you're doing more on this. And I love that. And I feel like so many people, especially women, we're just told that that's not ever possible for us. We're told that like, yeah, that would be a nice dream. You go back to your job or whatever you're doing, right? And so I love that you never ever let that go, and you planned it out. You're like, I'm going to make this happen, and here's how I'm going to do it. And what advice would you give to women who are listening right now who are like, oh, they've got the stories. It's too late for me. That'll never happen to me. Imposter syndrome, all those things that I'm sure you thought about the whole way through, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh. Well, I don't know. People did tell me like it's never going to work. You're never going to make money doing it. I did, like, even my boyfriend who I met on the site, who was really good in business, would tell me that, like, oh yeah, he was constantly trying to help me figure out something else that would get me out of the day job that would make money. And I should have put more time and energy into the business than listen to him and try these other side things, because I always saw it as being successful. And I think what I see people making mistakes around is jumping all into a new project without proper funding. And then they run out of money fast, and it's not sustainable. So either get capital, get funding, or keep the day job and do it on the side, which the benefit of that is you retain 100% control of the company, which is nice, and it can go a bit slower. But nowadays with social media, we didn't have, there was MySpace back then, but that was,
oh my gosh, MySpace.
when I started, that's all the social media there
right.
was. So
I was on
it
MySpace.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing to market your, online business there. That was more of a personal social networking thing where you make friends. Um,
Yep.
so these days people can launch, and if they're creative and they use social media and a little bit of AI to help streamline things, then it can go much, much faster. And but still, keep the day job, or get some funding, or a day job, because then you're not stressed financially. You're not forced to feel like I have to make it work and I have to make money. It has to be, it's more like you can do the passion part and make it fun, make it exciting, and do it the best you can possibly do it without worrying about bringing in the money right away. Like, I think that's a really key factor, is to keep that balance. And then trying to balance the rest of your life, I was never
Right.
very good at that. I just worked all the time. I did have my boyfriend that, I met on the site, and that was helpful, but still it was very challenging.
Yeah.
So I would definitely do things a bit differently. And there's a lot more tools these days to launch a business, which is amazing. Like even these interviews, like, I mean, so good. I mean, we had actual radio back then.
I love it. Right? Exactly. Oh my
And
gosh.
the news. I remember being on the news a couple times with launching new businesses with the boyfriend, that, and one was like in safety for, like this whole system we created. And I got on the news for that, like to promote it. It was interesting. So yeah,
Interesting.
different
Yeah.
avenues these days.
Exactly. And it's funny, MySpace, oh my gosh, you bring me back to the day. Like that's where I first launched my music career on MySpace was the thing, like, right? And but it's hard for people to understand who just at our fingertips we have access to the world here. But we didn't
Yeah.
have that. We was the old fashioned way. Like I mean I tell my girls, like, we used to have to send letters, like type letters to clients. They're like, letters? I'm like, yeah, with an envelope and a stamp. Remember that? Oh, when my kids were really young, they'd be like, Mom, did you live in the olden days? I'm like, no, that is not the olden days. We didn't have horse and buggies. We just had stamps and letters, and we didn't have email. It's not the
Right.
olden days.
I
Like, how
know.
old do you think I am? But yeah, I mean, it's all relative. It seems like the olden days now because everything is so modernized and electronic. And you mentioned AI, right?
Well, yeah, and things are moving so fast with AI these days that it's important, being a spiritual dating site with, spiritual singles being our main one.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kept my spirituality and my connection to nature and our divine essence. And that balance with AI is critical, I think, right now. So to remain connected to our divinity, to not succumb to transhumanism, and not get chips in our head. And
Oh,
this is like the big agenda that's coming. And so we're going to be tested a bit on resisting all that. And I think the kids that are so used to incorporating all the technology will be more likely to do that. And I just hope that they're strong, and we remain autonomous and sovereign, and not and not
yeah.
merge with the machines.
The machines. That's a scary thing. And some of the stuff that you hear now is a little bit scary. But I love using it as the tool that it was invented to be, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, I use it all the time. I mean, I'll write a show summary, but the creativity starts with me, and that's what I love. It's never going to
Yeah.
replace creativity in the human soul. Just can't, right?
No, exactly.
So that I feel
And
like will always
it
stay.
can help us too. Like, it can help
Yes,
us be more
yes.
creative when we use it properly.
Exactly. And more productive. I like that piece of it. Help me be productive. I love the creative stuff, right? So do you. So we want to spend more time in that creative energy because that is the energy of the universe coming down through us, right? So I like
Yes.
to spend a lot of time there. And I know when I'm standing in front of this computer all day, it's like it just sucks the life right out of you. You feel physically drained.
Yep, exactly. And when I'm working on my computer, I'll usually wear yellow, the blue blocking glasses.
Hmm.
And I just started doing that about, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it really does seem to make a difference.
It really does. I have mine floating around here, my little blue glasses. It makes a huge difference because that's, I think, where a lot of the fatigue comes from. But it's always like, I love what you said. You said balance. It's always a balance, right? It's like, and when I was talking to you on our initial call, you had just come in from swimming with the squid. So
Yeah.
you have a lot of balance in your life. I love that. Talk to us about balance and how you balance all that because you're so computerized, right? You've got a digital business, but yet you're out swimming with the squid and what that teaches you that's different than AI and technology.
Right, right. Well, and I think when you were introducing your show, I was listening from my hypnotherapist perspective of programming in the head and core issues and the self-talk that we have. And I find that there's an interesting phenomenon among people where they believe that they have to live where they live and they get kind of stuck in one location and that location may not necessarily be feeding their soul as another location could.
Yeah.
And I've always been the type of person and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm just hopefully trying to encourage people that we don't have to be stuck in one spot. We can choose. Like I've lived all over the country, and including Hawaii, Mexico. I was 11 years in Mount Shasta, California, before moving to the Caribbean, where I am now. I've been here 6 years, and that's about the balance. Like where we live, like what you have access to easily. I couldn't live in a city. I wouldn't want to live in a city, partially because of what's coming down the road with those, but just in general, all the traffic, all the EMFs, all the crowds. I prefer to be closer to nature where I live. And so I live on the water. And I go right down. I picked a place that's really close to the beach where I like to swim in the mornings. So I drive 2 minutes down the road with my gear in the car, and I could walk, but I drive just because I have gear and stuff. And I swim, snorkel, free dive, sometimes scuba dive. And I'm out there with the fish and the squid you mentioned, and sometimes dolphins and turtles and eagle rays and manta rays and these beautiful ocean beings. Like I never knew that squid were so conscious. Like I was telling you when we talked on the phone that recently I was just on my back meditating. After I swam, I snorkel the reef, hang out, relax. I was meditating on my back, and I turned for like 10 minutes. I drifted down the coast a bit, turn over, put my mask back on, and all of a sudden the squid comes flying in front of me and stops right in front. And I was like, hello, how are you? And I just communicated with him telepathically. And he stood right underneath me. He floated right underneath me. And then a couple minutes later, two more came zooming in. And I mean, zooming, like from my side perimeter view, boom, they come zooming in and they stop right under me too. And the other one kind of moves off to the side and lets them have center stage. And they start doing this like flicker thing, and they're moving their bodies fast, they're flickering, they're changing colors, they're being playful, they're kind of tapping at each other, and they're just playing right underneath me. And I just feel this connection with them. I like to stay in a meditative state when I'm in the water, and they're just, I can't even eat squid. And I used to love calamari. I can't eat squid anymore. I choose not to. It's not that I can't, I choose not to. Words are powerful too, right?
Yes, totally.
And because I just love them so much. And I mean, eagle rays are just super conscious. All the rays are amazing. These beings out there that, I mean, I always knew dolphins and whales were beyond our consciousness, and these beautiful spiritual beings, and take groups on wild dolphin swim retreats and stuff like that. But squid, I didn't know before I moved here.
That's amazing. I love it. I want to hear more about the squid and the little dance one of them was doing for you. But we're going to break real quick. We'll be right back on Look for the Good. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm here with Jill Crosby. This conversation is incredible. I love when you were talking about this whole other world, right, that lives underneath the ocean. And it's very representative of this whole other world around us that we don't even see because we get so stuck. We get stuck in our stories. We get stuck in where we live. We get stuck in thinking that we're never going to find the one. So let's dive into that. There's so much richness in the analogy you used of the ocean and the world and our perspectives, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's true. It's like we were talking about limiting thoughts and where we live and what we do for work or business and things like that. And it can also be translated into where we meet our special person, the one that we feel destined to be with. And a lot of our success, I launched the site over 25 years ago now. And to celebrate the 25 years in business, I started interviewing couples that met through the sites. And it's been really cool and really inspiring, like full circle, starting kind of behind the scenes and not telling anybody, right, what I did, except people I knew. And then coming now to actually interviewing and posting them on a YouTube channel and totally public and sharing that, but learning from the couples too, and learning what worked for them and how they used the site. And the funny thing is most of the couples that met on the site that I've interviewed so far, and I don't know, there's probably been about 10 or 12 of them, they lived apart, like they lived in different areas, sometimes even different countries, and usually different states or provinces, or, depending on somewhere in Europe or Australia and the United States are the ones that I've interviewed. So depending on where they were living, but I mean, I've had them in totally different countries across the world from each other. Yeah. And when they came on the site, some of them thought they would meet somebody locally, and others just were totally open from the beginning to meet somebody that might live anywhere. But pretty soon no matter which direction it was for them, pretty soon they realized my soulmate could live anywhere. The person I'm destined to be, what makes anyone think that the person because I really believe that we have people that, and this is not, I didn't think of this is like common, but we have people that are just meant to be shorter term. And then there are ones that we are really meant to be with for a lifetime. And I just think it's crazy to think, well, my person would live in the same city that I'm in. Like, where does that thought come from? It's so limiting, kind of like, well, I'm only going to live in this one area for the rest of my life when I might want to live somewhere else. Yeah. So shifting that perspective and being open-minded to at least starting as a long distance, because they always move. One will move to be where the other is, or sometimes they'll move into a totally new place together and start a new life in a new place. And that's kind of a cool idea too. So just for people to be open-minded about that and not have that self-talk or that limiting talk of, oh, long distance is too hard, or right. I don't want to, put some time and energy into it. Yeah, it might be a little more difficult, but it's also good because they really get to know each other before they meet in person. When we're video dating, like if we were dating right now, we could get to know each other so deeply and without any physical anything really, I mean, you could talk about it and flirt with it, but there's no actual touching, at least yet, right? So we'll see with the future technology, what's coming, but
I know, right? I love that though. But what you're saying is like so powerful because it's just a story in our head. Oh, long distance is so hard, right? Like that's a story about how do you really know that's true? I love that thought that your soulmate could be anywhere. And the people who dive into that and then they find their soulmate and then they move somewhere together, that is super cool.
Yeah. Well, and even for those that don't want to move because of certain things in their life, circumstances, people,
Mhm.
parents they're taking care of, kid, whatever it might be. There's so many different variables. On my site, you can see willing to relocate, yes or no. So
Ooh.
right away, if you're not willing to, make sure the other person is, and if they're willing to, then bada bing, bada boom, there you go.
I love that. I love that you have that as a qualifier and they're willing to relocate. That's brilliant. And I feel like, and as your hypnotherapist mind will come on this too, I feel like it's just, so we know we've got that brain, like it's just that scared story. It's that I've always been here, I've always lived here, my parents lived here, blah 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 blah, right? That's the story. But
Yeah.
when you step out of that, right? Because your brain tries to keep you enclosed and be small. So it tries to make up those stories because it thinks it's trying to keep you safe. And I love to normalize that for people because it's not keeping you safe. It's keeping you stuck. And when you can kind of
Yeah.
see beyond that and say, hey, wait, is that really true? Are long distance relationships really impossible, right? And just be that observer of those thoughts and those stories and start to question them, like the things that you're learning under the sea. I mean, this is a vast sea right here.
Well,
Right?
yeah, the subconscious is like this mysterious thing that, but we can dive into the subconscious, and it is kind of like the under the ocean, where I can look out at the sea right now and not see the turtles and the dolphins and all the beings that live under there. That, I see these fish every day and I just hang out with them, and that they can't see our world,
Mm.
and they just live in their world completely oblivious. Now, the dolphins and whales are different, and a lot of the creatures do completely know our world, and they're psychic and telepathic, and they get it beyond us, I think.
Mm.
But the fish that live under the sea that maybe aren't quite as consciously evolved as, say, a dolphin,
Mhm.
they really are in their world and they know no different. They see us come into their world. They see us scare them sometimes or just hang out with them. But they don't know what's beyond it. And I feel like a lot of people are, like you were saying, are living in that self-made box. And then you mentioned imposter syndrome earlier. And I think that's huge for people, that we don't tend to give ourselves enough credit that we can live our passions and our dreams, and we can do what we truly want to do and what we feel guided to do. And if it seems like a huge step, then start with with littler things, like just, maybe you do want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever it might be. And maybe you're stage fright or afraid to talk or afraid to put yourself out there. Well, one thing is just like, as my friend Carol likes to say, fuck you, brain, and
I
and
love that.
and and just get over it. Like sometimes that's one of the ways I like to do things, is just desensitize myself to it. So it might take some courage and it might be kind of scary at first, but what the hell? That's okay. Like if we just do the same old stuff every day, it's the same. We know how to do it. We've already mastered it. It's kind of boring, like if we challenge ourselves and do something different that we're not good at in the beginning, well, that's okay. I mean, it's at least it's interesting and more exciting and different. When I moved here, I was a little, it took a lot to get here. Like I was in California going to the Caribbean with two dogs, and I had owned a house there, and I was buying a house here, a lot bigger house here, a lot more expensive, that I'd never purchased anything of that magnitude. And part of it's a vacation, one's a two houses, a vacation rental, and I live in the other. So it was a big deal for me. It was a big step. And I was kind of afraid. I remember going into the mailbox place where I keep my mail, and in Mount Shasta. And I remember I was like almost in tears. I was so like, just crazy, like I have to do so much for this trip to happen and all these pieces in place. And I mean, we're talking rented an RV and drove across the country, chartered a little private twin engine plane because of the dogs to get them here, all these things to coordinate. It was so scary. But Amber in the mail place, she said, she looked at me and she could tell I was like just kind of freaking out. She's like, you got this. And I kept thinking that, like the whole drive in the RV with my friend Bonnie across the country, I got this, I got this. And it was just so funny. Like she was my angel at the time that came in to just go for it. You got it. And so things might be scary and might be the unknown. And who knows how it's going to be when you get there. And sometimes you just have to do it and give it a whirl and see how you feel once you're there. And maybe you don't like it. Maybe you want to go back to what was there or try something different. That's all okay. But it's just shift and do something that's out of the comfort zone. And if you don't challenge yourself a bit, then it's boring. I think it's, right.
It's like the thought that keeps going to my head that is like, that's how you feel alive. Right. That's where vitality, that's where it just changes everything when you get that spark of aliveness. Again, I'm going back to that creativity thing is like, creativity, you're becoming creative. You're a creator of your own life, but we forget that. And like you said, we put ourselves in these boxes. So when we get that creativity flowing in, whether it's, I love what you said about, hey, just try a YouTube page or try something small or try, this is a small stage right here in my own home, like, try that for yourself. And all these little tiny things that you try is where you build your confidence, right? All of those things you were doing along the way, you were building that confidence. And even when you thought you didn't have it, that male gal was like, you got this, right? Like,
Yeah.
And it's it's that feeling of being alive, because why are we here? We're here to live our most joyful moments. We're here to live our passions. And so many of us don't, and it's sad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the little steps are doing just little things at a time are a great way to start. And then sometimes you might just feel guided to do the big thing and just freaking go for it. Because I don't know, it's like, I just see the whole thing as an adventure. All of life, and that we are divine beings and that we are meant for greatness. And the more we step into that and just allow it to be, I think the easier it gets, and the more natural it feels. But if we, whatever we resist is going to persist. So, that resistance can really slow us down. And even if we feel emotional and scared, like even just letting ourselves feel that for a little while. Okay, where's this coming from? Maybe it's from childhood. Maybe when somebody, told me as a kid that I couldn't do something, or, where the core issue that where did this start? Maybe even a past life. And so just allowing ourselves to feel it and go there, but not for too long, because if we sit and just ruminate in it and mope in it, then we'll just create more of that. So I think it's important to feel it, embrace it for a little bit, express the emotions around it, and then heal it, like into whatever we need to do to heal it, and then move on and just go for whatever that thing is that we want to manifest and create in our lives.
That is beautiful advice right there. And I think people skip that first start, feel it. Push it away, or they want to put it here or put it there, or watch some Netflix and just get rid of it. But really, when we can feel that and not numb out to it, and like you said, acknowledge it. Hey, give it a name. I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling trauma, whatever yours is. And I love that, because only then, in acknowledging it and respecting it and honoring it, feelings are supposed to just be like a wave, right? Like just pass through us, but we don't let them because we resist them, right?
Right. And then they'll stay in the body and they'll create disease and that whole thing. So it's better just to feel them, express them, let them go, and move on.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. All right, we're gonna have to break again. This is going so fast because we were having this incredible conversation. Don't go anywhere. I know you're hanging on to Jill's every word. We'll be right back on For the Good. Welcome back, everybody, to Look for the Good. This conversation with Jill is so inspiring. I just want to go sell my house and run away. We were just talking about we were just
Gonna run
talking
off with
about
the circus, Carrie.
exactly. I think you'll find me on the tightrope. And so we're just talking about how this is such a cool concept that another person, when you find that person, they can often inspire you to step out of that comfort zone, right? Like when you first fall in love and all the great chemicals and everything are happening. So much magic is in that moment. And you were saying, it's like, now that you're interviewing some folks, let's talk a little bit about that. What did they say? What did they discover when they found their person?
Right, exactly. Because what they tell me is oftentimes when they come together, like they might have had an idea to do something, but they just didn't act on it themselves. And when they come together with that one that they feel destined to be with, it's like instead of 1+1 =2, it's like 1+1 = 22 or 222 or 2000. I mean, it's exponentially greater. The energy, the creativity, the confidence, I'm twofold on this, right? So I think it's good to start doing your passion and doing what you want to do now. Like, don't wait. Oh, when I find the perfect person, or the perfect person for me, then I'm going to start something. Like, start it now and get it moving. And then when you meet your person, that often can fuel it to the nth degree where you take it to a whole new level. And you might, sometimes a lot of times they'll do things together. Like they'll open retreat centers, they'll write books, they'll start coaching or leading workshops and all kinds of writing books together, all kinds of beautiful things that these couples do together that they wouldn't have necessarily done by themselves. And it's just, I think it's good to, and then the second fold that I was thinking is so cool, because then sometimes one will just be there to support and inspire and encourage the other, and vice versa. Usually it goes two ways, to do what they were passionate about and to help them. Like even, I'm thinking of Kim and Randy, where Kim had this great organic skincare line called Cheeky Butter. And I bought her stuff from years ago, and then she became a success story on the site, and she met Randy, and her business was doing good, but Randy had the marketing experience, and he comes in and he was ready to transition from his old job career, and it was just perfect. So he comes in, they fall in love, they get married, he joins her business, and they're business partners now, and they took it to the whole next level. And so giving them even a little commercial here, Cheeky Butter. They're in Austin. Yeah, they're in Austin, Texas, and it's really good products, totally organic too. I love their stuff. But that's just one example of that. And then, but sometimes it's just a matter of the other person like cheering them on too, and giving them that. But I think regardless, start whatever the thing you want to do, with whether it's you want to move to a new place or you want to start a new career or a new business, just go for it. And then know that it's important to put a little time and energy into meeting somebody new. And if you, on spiritualsingles.com, it's great because we have in-depth profiles where we even have videos that people can watch a video of somebody. And that way you get to know like more chemistry. Because, you see somebody talk, it's a whole different thing than looking at a picture, because voice, right? Yeah. Voice and mannerisms, it all comes into play. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool and our profiles are crazy different than mainstream sites, like so much in depth, like, what does consciousness mean to you? And our essays are great. And then we've got these match questions that do like a match percentage between members. And there's over 300 match questions. So, and they can answer as many as they want. They don't have to answer them all, but they answer, a bunch of them. And then it shows a match percentage based on all those questions between another member and that. So they really get to see a lot of depth there and learn about, screen somebody and learn, make sure that on paper everything looks good. There's a lot of commonalities and you're attracted to them on all levels and they look like a great person, so you don't waste time, because remember, efficiency is one of the things I like. And I want to give people those details rather than just like a tender or something, just looking at a photo and maybe, if you're lucky, a little tiny short paragraph, and you're supposed to decide on that. Like,
Yeah.
it feels so like you might as well just, bump into a stranger somewhere and not really know much about them, but oh yeah, well, they're attractive.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's so much about that video too, I feel like is so important. And it's like, there's never been a better time to do this now. I mean, right? Like
Oh,
there's never been a better time. I love that in-depth analysis of over 300 questions, if you want to answer them all. Like that really just shakes out what is not a good fit. Like, I mean, it has to, and it really distills down the things that are most important to you. I love that.
mhm.
I think that's so unusual and so unique. And here's the thing, it's like when you think about, one of the things I have clients do when they come to see me is we do this little rocking chair test, right? And that's where you imagine yourself at 90 or 100 sitting in your rocking chair.
Mm.
And, all the studies that have been done, people don't talk about what they did. They talk about that one thing they didn't do,
Yeah, the
and
regret.
the regret. I just gave myself a chill. Don't let this issue be your regret. I was too scared, like think about my mom, like I could never talk her into getting on a dating site, right? Like too
Mm.
scared, whatever that story is it really true? What do you have to lose to do it now and
Yeah,
try, right?
right, exactly. I mean, you're exactly right, because if they don't even give it the effort, then I don't know, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get
but
in the
I get
game.
it. But people, tell themselves these stories. I'm not good. Worthiness is like when I was a hypnotherapist and when I interviewed over 6,000 singles, worthiness, no matter how beautiful, handsome somebody was and how much they had their shit together, everybody still had this deep unworthiness. And it was just so interesting to see that and to realize how similar we all are on that deeper level. And it's like this core deep issue that I think we've been programmed for centuries to hold us down and to keep us from really expressing who we really are and our divinity, right? And
Totally.
yeah, and so when I don't know, it's just knowing, like, keep telling ourselves, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. Oh, I mean, we can't say that enough. I think looking in the mirror, looking in our own eyes, smiling, sending ourselves love and saying, looking at yourself in the mirror, I am worthy, I'm worthy. Or saying you are worthy. If you're kind of talking to yourself, like, you are worthy, you are loved, you are amazing. And just feel that. Like, I like to do self-hypnosis and program myself this, and the more we do this for ourselves, the better, because then we start believing it and acting that way, and that's all it takes. The funny thing
Yeah.
is we used to, in hypnotherapy, when I was learning, one of the things was act as if, like, if you're not confident about something in the beginning, just act like you are, and pretty
It's
soon
so funny. I was just gonna say, yeah, act like the person you want to be now, because what are you gonna say? Pretty soon.
you are. That's you. So yeah, and it's so simple when we get down to it. And all this self-talk or waiting for the world to get, like, resolve all the issues and get to a peaceful place, like, that might take a little while. So I think it's coming. It will happen. And hopefully, if we go that right, the direction. And in the meantime, let's do everything we can to help it get there. Right.
Yes.
And let's not just sit on our asses and not do anything. Let's speak up, help out. And I think remembering that divinity is a key, and remembering who we are and that we are worthy, and that we all have regrets. We all have things we wish we didn't do. We all feel guilt about the past, certain things, but letting that go, forgiving ourselves, And because if you don't forgive yourself, then you're just holding on to that. And that's going to really pull you down and slow you down. And it doesn't do any good for the person you might have hurt or yourself. You know, you're not helping the situation by feeling guilty or resentment towards somebody who hurt you. You know, it's all John and Annie's another couple I interviewed, and they are like, they have a thing called FAB. See if I can remember. It's forgive, accept, and gosh, they believe, I don't know. They have all these great acronyms. And what that interview that if John and Annie, I mean, it's like one of the most inspirational interviews that I've done. But they say, just forgive everyone, just forgive like it never happened. Just forgive them and forgive yourself like it never happened, like let it go. And because again, if you're holding on to that resentment of being hurt by somebody, it's just going to stop you and slow you down. And what good is that? It's just, you know, it's not an efficient way of going about it.
It's not, you love that efficiency. And it's just a story, right? It's just a story. Is it really true? Like, I keep thinking Ho'oponopono right now as you keep talking about this forgiveness. And it's so true. And I talk about this in the book. The most important person to forgive is yourself, right? And because that's where it all starts. And when we can start to forgive ourselves and release some of those layers, and like you said, the guilt and all these other low vibe emotions, because we are divine. We're meant to live in the higher space. We're meant to live in those higher emotions. And if you're not there, if you're not living with joy, that's why that's always my, live with joy is the new soundtrack of your life, because that's what we're meant to do. That's what we're here to do, right? And what is that thing? We forget what that thing is that brings us joy, what we love to do. And so get in there and figure that out, right?
Well, yeah, because, and that's a tricky thing, because I've been there where I get depressed or down for, a little while. And I never had really my whole life. Like I'd always been really good about staying positive, and I never really understood how people could get so depressed. And I got kind of depressed there for a little while. And I've always said it's always a choice. And, it's like we are the painters of our own canvas. And if we don't like the picture we're painting, well, scrap it, start painting a new picture, like start over, fresh, clean slate, that kind of thing. We can do that anytime. And yet I still don't know like what the key is to like pull oneself out of a funk. But a lot of it is, I think, just starting to tell ourselves again, remind ourselves, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are wonderful. Like I had gained some weight, and I was started beating myself up about it. And then I didn't want to like do stuff like, I didn't want to shift my diet, and I just kept going down this spiral. And I don't know, finally I just shifted something, and I just went, stop it already. Like, come on. And I just got on my exercise bike. I mean, I'm always swimming, but you reach a plateau, like, it's like, that's it there. You got to do something different, or at least I should speak for myself. I have to do something different to shift out of that. And so I have an exercise CrossFit bike, and I started getting back on that and went on a cleanse and then I started just feeling so good and healthy and fit. I mean, I'm still getting there. But just taking those steps and starting and getting back to it shifted everything for me. It's like, oh yeah, all right. And I don't have to be like perfectly thin. Like I grew up in California, where if you're not perfectly thin, you're not worthy of anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's a bad story.
It's so ridiculous.
A really bad story. But you said something so important. It's starting, right? It's the starting that's hard for people. And I always say it's the first time you go back to the gym, the first time you pull the dust off the bike and you get on it, right? It's like, it's just saying to yourself, all right, I can do it. And combining all those things you said, walking by the mirror and giving yourself the high five, like Mel Robbins says, right? Hey, you got this, like that one little voice had that you mentioned earlier. And it's just telling yourself those things, because we've got to be our own best cheerleader, because nobody else is really going to do it for us. We can't wait for those moments of somebody. So if we know and we're always conscious really of what we're doing, when we can stop and stand back for a minute and say, I don't like this and that. I'm going to make some changes. And it's in that moment with that higher level of, hey, I really know that I can do this, or I'm just going to try this one thing. Because I think we dismiss how a little tiny change can accumulate. Because when you look back over 30 days of doing that one little tiny thing, you're like, whoa, look how far I've come in 30 days. I'm going to keep going, right? And that's the stuff. That's the juice of it. That's how you can juice yourself up and get that spark back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the little wins start to add up and start to help us shift. And then they're reinforcing, we're positively reinforcing ourselves and getting back to that overall positive state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's so many gems of wisdom in this episode, Jill. Like, I mean, so much goodness. Like, people are going to have to watch this again and again, because there's so much goodness. And I'm so appreciative of you and your wisdom and coming on the show and sharing your personal story. And I love these interviews. It's just all been amazing. And I hope you guys too are listening in and like, wow, so much wisdom here. Thank you, Jill, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a fun, great conversation. Appreciate it.
Amazing. And I'm going to get there, and we're going to swim together. You're going to show me those squid.
Okay. I love it.
All right, everybody. And thank you so much. Look Jill up, go watch those interviews. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.